over the past few days, the media, the news, especially online media, has really been preoccupied with two main big events. Obviously, as everyone's aware, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and following that, a few days later, the United Kingdom rally, Tommy Robinson's United Kingdom rally in London. And it was really the United Kingdom rally, or the mainstream media's response to it, which I think is really telling of, or pointing or indicative of how the left, the liberal elite's grip on power is truly slipping, and that's really seen, I think, in what the mainstream media's response to the rally was. I mean, I've got a few more thoughts about that rally. But immediately following, or the day afterwards, the mainstream media, and I'm talking sites like the BBC, Sky News, Al Jazeera, CNN, Reuters, almost identically released reports of 100,000 people attended the rally. A far right gathering, right wing extremists, all the usual litany of expressions and terms designed to marginalize what is clearly the sentiment of the British people. To dismiss this as a fringe movement, which is what they're trying to do. Really, I think, despite, you don't have to be a mathematician to know that there was a lot more than 100,000 people. Some estimates, of over 1 million, up to 3 million people descending on London. I'm not sure if it was 3 million, but clearly there was not only 100,000 people. From what I saw, it was a great event, and I'm really sad that I couldn't be there. Normally, I am back in London at this time. But a few things happened where I couldn't make it back for this September. But clearly this was the culmination of months and years of neglect, of Conservative Party neglect, and of the disastrous government of Keir Starmer. This is what happens. The people have finally had enough. They've had enough of the boats. They've had enough of the cost of living crisis, the lies that Starmer spewed during the election to win to win the election. People have had enough, and as they said, no more. This is enough. This is who we are. This is what we expect of our government. We want to return to being proud of being British. But to do that, to say that, you'll be labeled as right-wing, a right-wing thug, an extremist, a Nazi, the usual. And the police too, at the rally, the media really played on, and a lot of the reports I saw in the mainstream media really played on the fact that there were a few arrests, and that 26 police officers were hurt. And that's what the focus was on, an extreme right-wing gathering in which police were hurt and there were a few arrests. How many arrests were there during the Notting Hill Carnival this year? It was up to 400 and 400 or so arrests, and a number of weapons and knives were stolen. How many weapons and knives were recovered during the United Kingdom rally? Absolutely none. Some of the violence that occurred, or some of the clashes that occurred when the police seemingly messed up, and they allowed some of the renter mob, the Antifa gang, to come face to face with the Patriots, with the people attending the United Kingdom rally, and some scuffles ensued. I saw one where the police were pushing back the Antifa mob, and one of them said, "Hey, you're pushing me," and the police officer responded with, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't mean to push you, I just don't want you to get hurt." At the same time, his friends just behind him are clubbing people that showed up for the United Kingdom rally. It's all how it's in how the media, what images they decided to capture, and how they decided to report this. But clearly, the police has been completely weaponized, been politicized, and are now doing the bidding of the Starmer government. The media is being co-opted. The police are being co-opted. This to me sounds like far-right extremism, and we've seen this throughout history. This is not these are not the actions of a liberal democracy. These are the actions of a far-right extreme government, which is what Starmer is. And the best that they can do now is to completely vilify, denigrate, and marginalize people that are protesting. Exactly the same playbook, exactly the same things we saw here. We saw in Canada, where Trudeau used exactly the same terminology. He threw in things like transphobes and racists for good measure. And then launching or unleashing the police against protesters who were protesting against the mandates. But this can't go on. This can't go on. And 1 million plus people showing up in London, I think, is testament to that. If I was a politician in London, looking down on the thousands and thousands and thousands of people, I would be very concerned. I would be saying, okay, something has to give. What can we do? We need to address the growing will of the people. I like to think that the conservative movement is united in this, but I'm not seeing that either. And unfortunately, my concern is, what will this do during the next election? I already saw, again, Farage talking about how Tommy Robinson is not welcome in Reform. I mean, I don't think Tommy Robinson would be rushing to join Reform or to, again, endorse Farage, which he's already done. But it's like, the conservative movement against Starmer needs to come together. There needs to be bridges. I like a lot of what Ben Habib is saying, but we've got Ben Habib on one side of the movement there, and Farage on the other side of the movement. Farage is gaining a lot of momentum, but he's got many more years behind him where he's been able to do this. But it's going to split the vote. It's going to cause division. There's no coming together amongst Farage, Rupert Lowe, Ben Habib. They have to come together. I think only in this, if there's some form of collaboration. I'm not saying that all of Ben Habib's guys need to join Reform or vice versa, but there has to be some concerted effort. Otherwise, this will just continue and continue and continue. But it's this denigration of opposing voices, and it's not just in the UK, it's not just in Canada. We saw it for years and years against Trump. The trumped-up charges of collusion with the Russians, that the Russians won his 2016 election, despite the fact that evidence is now pointing to the fact that intelligence was co-opted in the States. But how many times did people like Hillary Clinton go on national media, hit the airwaves with talk of Trump being a Nazi, a racist? And it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. They keep on and on and on attacking this left liberal elite, whatever you want to call it, whatever label we're putting onto it, is unceasing in its attacks, whipping up this sentiment of hatred. As far as I can see, it's and I just use the term because it's the one that I think is more readily, if we're talking about sides, it's the left that is so willing to commit violence, that is shutting down free speech, is shutting down dissent, is shutting down this open dialogue which we should be having. And unfortunately, the great Charlie Kirk, he paid the price for this. Just absolutely horrifying and horrific. And to see some people celebrating this, it not only do I just think it's, these people need to check their moral compasses, but just for 1 second, think about his children. This guy was a father and a husband, and he had family. That for anybody to celebrate the passing or the loss of somebody who was simply just trying to have a conversations, which is really what he did, and how he's been, maligned in the media and the press and on social media. But it works, this constant attack, this constant barrage against people that might be espousing conservative values, a lot Christian values. This constant attack, this constant wave of attacks is working. I mean, I saw on a personal level a family member, not my family member, but a family member, really being offensive and attacking. They don't care what they say. They don't care how they're attacking supposed loved ones, family members. They'll take to social media and just spew really what I consider pure hate. It doesn't stop. Anyhow, guys, those are just some of my immediate thoughts and reactions to what's been going on. I thought it looked like it was an amazing rally, that anybody can pull together that many people. I think in one of the largest and most peaceful protests we've seen in many years. I think really the only event that drew this many people together was the recent passing of the Queen, and then her earlier anniversary of her coronation. But it looked like an amazing day. The speeches, the talks were just, I thought they were bang on, and bringing together England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, and the Republic of Ireland, to see the Republican flag, or the flag of the Irish Republic, being held and waved proudly amongst the flags of the UK with the Union Jack. I mean, that's something that, if anybody remembers the 70s and 80s, you would never have seen this. You would never have seen that. And to see it finally happen, showing is that this wave, this movement, I think really is gaining steam and cannot be stopped. And it's only time. It's only time now until there is massive change. But I think we'll see the deep state, the left. They'll continue. Whoever's funding these people, they'll continue. The attacks are going to ramp up. Hopefully not the violent attacks, but the attacks and the pushing of the mainstream media, the lies of the mainstream media will just continue. I think with a little bit more vigor now, but they're losing. I think the tide is turning, and we've got people like Tommy Robinson and Charlie Kirk to thank for this. I think this is going to become a defining moment in history, and I think we're going to see that this is the time when when the tide's turning. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. I would really appreciate you giving it a like, and if you haven't already, subscribing to the channel. I'm almost at that magical 500 subscribers. I'm really trying to grow it. I'm almost there. So if you haven't already, I would truly appreciate you subscribing. Again, doesn't cost a penny, just one little click. But hope you're doing well, and until the next video, take care of yourselves.